What's raging, gamers? Welcome to Rage Quit Video Game Talk Show. How you doing, HenricK the Wreck?
I'm doing great, Chris. How about yourself?
Oh, man, everything's good. We're alive. You know, spring is among us, and you know what that means. You know, lots of gaming in the future, in the horizon. And we always like to start off the show with a bang and show you guys a lot of viral video clips that are circulating all across the globe. So let's get it. After investing over $15,000 in the ultimate VR gaming setup, streamer Ginga's VR, or is it Gingas VR? I don't know. It's kind of a strange streamer name, but that bears the point. She decided that the level of haptic feedback it offered simply wasn't immersive enough, introducing a new vest that adds an electrifying twist to your VR experience, simulating health damage with shocking accuracy. Now, every sword swing, magical spell, and dragon attack will feel shockingly real.
No. This is an oboe suit. It's a haptic feedback device that produces real pain in VR using electrodes that go directly on your skin. It shocks you with electricity depending on what happens in the game. It's very painful. On top of that, I'm wearing another haptic suit that produces vibrations and using a smart plug along with fans to simulate temperature.
Just a scratch.
Oh no! No! Ah! Oh, that's so weird! Ah! Oh! I'm doing it. Oh! Ow! Oh my God! No, no, no. No, no.
Did you notice that she also modded a gun into Skyrim there at the end?
I know, that's the best part about it. She's like, I'm witnessing so much pain in this reality that even the weapons in Skyrim is just not enough to defend myself from that fearsome dragon. But
just
man,
wait until like maybe 5-10 years from now. Actually, well,
might
we'll
come
say
a
for
little
my
bit sooner than
example,
later.
You know, like, well, I was thinking more of the like full dive experience, whereas like you actually do feel the pain of getting shot in the arm or like a dragon breathing fire on you. Imagine that.
Yeah,
That would be wild.
I hopefully we don't ever feel that, HenricK. I don't even know if I even want to know that. But the comments were clearly energized around this clip. And the first one says, I just know that dragon fire hurt. Yeah, absolutely. Like the whole body getting electrified at the same time. Where's that burning sensation? I know she was talking about the fans, the temperature fans. Was it hot at the same time? I mean, a bit too immersive maybe for my style of gameplay. Next comment we got here is, every day we get closer to making Ready Player One a reality. Is this what we really want? Is this the kind of thing that we're doing now at Dave & Buster's? I know they said that they're going to start letting kids gamble against each other 18 years old and up. Maybe we want more of this VR experience and less
I'm
gambling?
gonna be real. I'm gonna be real with you, Chris. Every time I go to a place like Dave & Buster's and I see the arcade filled with VR games, I'm like, I'm not gonna play those.
Really?
Why did I come here? I went to this arcade to play arcade games, not VR games.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So it's going to be its own separate hub in the future. Can't wait to get a heart attack after I get a headshot in a VR game. Yeah, thank the Lord she doesn't have like a headband on, because I don't know if I really even want to see that after all. This is just kind of starting to turn into like a weird, kinky, like 50 Shades of Grey, if you know what I'm saying. I don't want to see that. You and your partner.
You just gave people some more reasons to try this, I bet you, Chris.
Maybe I did. Maybe I did after all. Maybe I should stop talking and just move on to the next video clip. So let's get it. Marquez Brownlee, the YouTuber known for his tech reviews, got a sneak peek at Disney's top secret project, the HoloTile, a 360-degree treadmill that's so revolutionary it might just turn the virtual reality gaming into a real workout.
You know what? It is pretty cool I can't deny that, but at the same time, I think that a lot of gamers may not want to do this, considering, when you get home and you're sitting down on the couch and you're playing some games, you don't want to make it a workout. You just had a workout going to work the whole day.
I mean, you do see those, remember we were making fun of like maybe 2 seasons back where the guy was like maybe trying to be flirtatious with some of the girls at this VR experience, running around, screaming at the top of your lungs. I'd be a little worried to see, the police come in. What if he gets swatted? You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
And you're on one of those hollow tiles just running in one place where like,
It would be a
10-4, we got another one.
a Looney Tunes moment for
Oh,
sure.
yeah,
Like-
big time. Yeah, exactly. And I get really motion sickness on long car drives, especially when you're going in the mountains. I just wonder if that sense of reality, how would that work out? I mean, I feel like, would you be totally immersed? I think I'd be kind of sick if I was doing really fast turns like that, like he was doing with that PS4 controller. But
That's true.
we got comments around this clip. The first one here says, VR is so underrated. For $300, you can knock someone out in boxing, be inside a zombie apocalypse, and get in a lightsaber fight with Darth Vader. And the porn is crazy. And hold up, T. Frank. Is that your wife? Is that prom? Homecoming? what are we talking about?
No.
This guy, you realize what they say, anything that you say on the internet stays on the internet. And, okay. Next
Moving
comment.
on.
Car crashes about to go crazy. Yeah, maybe we don't need all these Twitch actors anymore, being actors and immersing themselves, falling off a cliff in Grand Theft Auto. Maybe we don't need that anymore, HenricK.
Yeah, because you can experience it yourself.
Yeah, and then put on that haptic suit at the same time. What a trip. And
Exactly.
going for the trick shot in the old Call of Duty, gonna be crazy with this one. Imagine being on this thing playing Mario Kart, being in first, and then hearing that blue shell sound alert.
Oh,
Or
no.
what about Fallout 4 VR with 900 mods? I think everybody's got a great point here, HenricK.
Yeah, I mean, mods already make the game a little bit more immersive. It's just things like this that would add to the immersion if you are willing to go that far.
But even with the Disney like engineering crew, I think they call themselves the Imagineering team.
Yeah.
That's only like a 6x6 hollow tile that's being placed. What if it's like 20x20? How do you get off it? That's my question. That would be extremely difficult. Like, is there like a backup feature?
You got to be like the polar bears on ice. Go and lay on your stomach to
Do you
get
even
off
think
of
that
it.
would work?
I don't know. Maybe not.
You're just crawling and you're just in one space. Oh, that would kill me. That'd be so funny. But here, this is another incredible video that we got to show you guys, because the world of VR and viral clips has been extremely strong this week. This streamer's mod turned Skyrim into a madhouse as viewers took control of NPC voices, but little did he know it turned into a virtual circus where every NPC conversation became a contest for the most inappropriate dialogue. Skyrim, now with 100% more chaos and 0% dignity.
I have never made a game mod before. Chat can live voice NPCs. It's gonna go horribly.
Hey there, kid, you want some drugs?
Oh, hey, dogs.
I used to be with a girl that had huge, gigantuous...
Yup,
enormous-
okay. Hey, Rasher.
Have you ever tongue-punched a chocolate starfish?
God, what is wrong with people in Whiterun?
I heard of a guy in Whiterun with a very nice, very large and
Nope.
impressive college degree.
Oh.
Not what you were expecting, huh?
Telling me the words like pen and
He's got
Let's
a
be
nice
doubly our
too.
destiny.
Wait here.
Chippy chippy choppa choppa doobie doobie da.
Yeah, it's little clips like this from Twitch that make you really want to be part of that experience. Like
Right.
typing in people's responses to the chat and then have it show up in real time to the streamer because he's just having fun. That's great. It's a great time.
It's like we talked in the past about neo NPCs, AI taking over our beloved, NPC characters. Why need that when we can let the community get involved and immerse the gameplay even further? But we got comments around this clip, and the first one that we have here is Chippy Chippy Choppa Choppa in the most Kratos voice possible.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. I like that. Never give chat this kind of power. This is how one ends up banned from Twitch.
That's true. There has to be kind of like a blacklist of phrases, maybe.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you do have that ability in Twitch where, if you don't, you want, that your community, your fan base might be saying some, inappropriate things. You could choose keywords to refrain from showing up in the chat. Will the same apply? I don't think we're quite there as of yet. And the next one we have here is, why make the mod and then cut them off when they try to talk? Maybe because of what that guy just said.
Yeah, the previous comment.
So, yeah, you always got to be careful with all the new gadgets and toys that you have in your arsenal. But we love it, fam. This is what we're all about. Rage Quit Video Game Talk Show. We just want to remind you, the gamers, this is a live show after all, so join the conversation. I know HenricK has a lot to say and a lot of things to get off his chest, but if you start saying something like clearly outlandish, I need your guys' support. We'll show you up on the lower third, and we could do this together. We can,
you know what? In the inverse, if Chris starts saying something irrational, with his hot takes, call him out.
Okay, fine.
Please.
Call me out. I love to see your guys' fire. I don't think you guys can handle this heat. But, we got a lot to jam-pack in this show, baby. So are you ready to rock and roll, HenricK?
Absolutely, Chris. And it's time. It's time to talk about a game, baby.
It's time to talk about a game. Woo!
Hey everyone, this is Pause or Repeat. Here we figure out whether a game is really worth your time and money. Today's game is Sandland. Based on the manga series of the same name by Akira Toriyama, Sandland is a new RPG adventure published by Bandai Namco. The game is developed by ILCA, a studio known for a couple of more modern Pokemon games, as well as One Piece Odyssey. Before passing, Akira Toriyama even gave his approval of the game. So with that in mind, let's look at what is presented and start with the gameplay. The gameplay of Sandland is focused heavily on the adventure and RPG aspects. There is a fairly big map to explore, vehicles to get parts for and upgrade, as well as build out a town. Particularly, you'll be spending the majority of your time using your different vehicles that you can pull out on a whim. From a car to a tank to a motorbike, you'll be using these vehicles to traverse the desert wasteland as well as dish out damage to foes in combat. Combat is open fights with groups of enemies, meaning you are not locked into combat unless it's a special encounter or the enemies are blocking your path. There is also a moveset for when you're not in your vehicle, as well as specialization trees for building out the combat capabilities of yourself and your companions. But I mentioned a wasteland. What is up with that? Let's delve into the story and find out. In this world, humans and demons exist, but do not coexist. The world used to have resources plentiful, but after many conflicts, the world was left as a wasteland. Enter your main character, Beelzebub, son of Lucifer and prince of the demons. The demons steal resources like food and water from transports on the regular, and as such, the humans are scared of the demons. One day, a human approaches the demon settlement requesting aid to search for a spring of water, and thus begins Beelzebub's adventure. But now the question still stands. Pause or repeat?
Video game adaptations of anime is sometimes something that isn't always done that well, unfortunately. It's kind of, the curse of adaptations in a way.
Yeah.
This game, however, subverts that completely because this game is really, really fun. But I'm curious, what do you think about it, Chris? We heard from me already quite a bit.
Yeah, Sandland is a nostalgia bomb from Akira Toriyama. If anybody's not familiar with this work, he is the creator of Dragon Ball and whisking fans back to the childhood. Though, some people kind of been arguing whether this game has been able to pack a punch with its gameplay department because, maybe the hand-to-hand combat isn't quite there, but the vehicle mechanics is freaking amazing. And trust me, it's not going to be leaving you that much feeling as though you're feeling flat like a desert horizon. I mean, I don't know about you, HenricK. Sandland's mostly brown scenery might make you question why you're not loving it as much as Fallout New Vegas, because I keep seeing all these debates, talking about which one's the best in the series. But after all, fans have declared it as the series pinnacle, so maybe it's time to embrace the beige and join the sand side of gaming greatness. What do you think about
You
this
don't
game,
like
HenricK?
beige? Come on, Chris. I mean, I know we're wearing black, but come on.
No, I think it's really, really cool. That's not exactly what I'm saying. I think Sandland will have you actually hooked for about 40 hours if you're a completionist. You know, it's about 25 hours, I would say, right? You know, when it comes to like the storyline. But, you know, it's one of those things where you'll spend half of that time just cruising around in the vehicles. I think that's one of the coolest parts, because when you get to that moment in the beginning of the game where you're finally acquire a vehicle, isn't that something special? It just makes you like love the game that much more. And the open world, as I've been joking, is quite brown. And yes, they did add an addition of forest land. It is really going to make you feel like you're pretending you're in a Mad Max movie.
Yeah, and I do think that they did a very, very good job with the vehicle combat. Like you mentioned, unfortunately, the hand-to-hand combat's not entirely there. It's definitely the weakest part of the gameplay. But the vehicle combat is fleshed out really well, and you're going to be spending the majority of your time doing that anyways. So it was really the smarter idea for them to focus on that more than anything else, because when you're having to traverse this map of a wasteland, and it is a wasteland in some places.
Yeah, right.
Having a cool vehicle to do that with, it kind of, you know, softens the blow a bit.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like, who cares if the game's a bit hollow when you've got car combat like Sandland? I think when you could be able to switch upon motorbikes to mech mechanics to even these explosive, like, tanks. I mean, I don't know about you, HenricK. I love a good explosion in video games, and something about this game just makes you want to constantly be a tank assassin in this vehicle mod. But then,
people,
right? Exactly. And then you start to go into these like corridors and dungeon kind of style of side quests, and then that's when you really want to start to jump in like one of those like grasshopper kind of style vehicles. I thought those were pretty fun to play out throughout the game. But I'm just wondering though, HenricK. I mean, Sandland could have marinated its idea a bit longer under the scorching desert sun, but I'll just go out there and label it as a repeat, because sometimes, even in the gaming world, leftovers are still pretty tasty, if you know what I mean. And I feel like with all the mechanics, just with the combat vehicle gameplay, you're gonna want to be hooked on this game.
Yeah, this game came out at an unfortunate time for itself, because there's a lot of other games that have come out around the same time that have been either involved controversy or have been taking the spotlight in terms of where everyone's looking. But this game is really something worth looking for and playing if you get the chance, because I had a great time the whole time playing it. And I think that something that I can really highlight as well is that the story, which is something that in an open world is not always really that great. The story in this is really fun. And that's because it doesn't take itself seriously. It knows its source material being this goofy, silly, lighthearted.
But I will say though, HenricK, I mean, I understand it is a manga, and this has already been a story that's already been within its own self, you know, humans and demons. And then obviously like the main narrative in this story is like lack of water, hint on hint, why they have that expansion of the forest land. But it's like, we just saw it with Fallout, right? Radiated water. You know, we know that there's a new Dune RPG that's going to be coming out. What's the theme again? Oh wait, lack of water.
Desert, water.
Right. So it's like, I'm just wondering, like, to me, I would argue that this was a perfect time for this to drop, because if it kept delaying any further, you know, the release of this game, don't you think that we'd all be sick and tired of getting baked in the sun with these kind of style of games?
That's a good point, but I think at the same time, if you were to say like, oh, if this came out closer to the Dune game, I don't know, I feel like you could still differentiate them enough based on the style of game, because the Dune game is more of just kind of like a serious, you know, like it's the source material.
Yeah,
for
but
Star
I'm just saying,
Wars,
like the overall storylines are like so kind of close, you know, and like only that tiny little part, only that little tiny little part. But I'm just saying, it's like, you know, gamers are kind of wanting to get this kind of immersive storytelling, and you know, I think the open world aspect, and just even like someone like myself who's not crazy into anime, like I'm not like soul searching for it per se. Jumping into this world makes you actually want to go and check out Sandland. like the actual manga in and of
The
itself.
source
So
material, yeah.
exactly, and that's why I say this is such a successful anime video game adaptation. In fact, I would probably argue and say that it's actually one of the better ones in the last decade. I can't even really think of a good manga or anime-based video game that's actually excelled to the level that I'm seeing with this game. And yeah, if you're like a big RPG fan and maybe you were a little upset with Starfield and you kind of wanted that itch for a new open world game and you don't really want to fall back into Fallout 4, this game is a great way to just jump in. What are you waiting for?
Yeah, and I'm actually curious to see what ILCA does moving forward, because I mean, yeah, they did also another anime adaptation, which was One Piece Odyssey, but that game compared to this game, I think it fell flat a little bit in comparison, and this one was the much better adaptation. So if they keep that up, even if they do another adaptation next, if they keep up the same energy and maybe even make it better, I'm all down for that.
Yeah, I'm here with you. So as you can clearly hear from both of us, it sounds like the verdict is a repeat. Yeah. So what are you waiting for? This is a game that it's going to be hot. It's a hot, destructive game.
Go out and
make
play
sure
it.
you got a good SPF before you jump in. I'm just kidding. It's not that.
The game is very bright. Keep that in mind as well.
Keep that in mind. But hey, we got a whole lot left here on Rage Quit Video Game Talk Show. So HenricK the Wreck, are you ready to rock and roll?
Absolutely. It's time to rage.
Let's get it. What's good, listeners? Welcome to Patch Notes, where my co-host HenricK the Wreck and I discuss gaming news, industry talk, and so much more. Let's get it. Spring is in the air, and you know what that means. More time for video games. May 2024 might not have as many blockbuster releases as we're used to, but there are still a few gems that should be definitely on your radar. In the sequel to the award-winning series, Hellblade 2: Senua's Sacrifice embarks on a brutal journey of survival through the myth and torment of Viking Iceland, determined to rescue those oppressed by tyranny, confronting both inner and outer darkness in a narrative woven with cinematic immersion, stunning visuals, and captivating sound. This is a game you have to keep on your watch list. So let's go ahead and check out the teaser.
If you've moved on from the kick of Viking games as a genre, if maybe that Assassin's Creed Valhalla game was a little too much for you, take a look at this one, because this one will be good. You'll have fun with this one probably, because it's more of a cinematic crafted storyline. The first game was great, and I'm sure they're going to deliver with this one.
You know, I'm starting to get like that, the Plague's Tale Requiem kind of style of gameplay, and that darkness and just the illumination of, you know, just the fire and the smoke and you know, that close hand-to-hand sword combat. I am so ready to jump in this game. I've never played the first one, so I feel like I'm like, what am I yeah, so that's why I'm like, what have I been missing out all this time? And I gotta go and do myself a due diligence, because this game is definitely, just from what my eyes can see, I know they've been burning from that fire. It was pretty electrifying. This is definitely something that should be on your radar. Hellblade 2, Senua's Saga will be available for you guys. It's releasing on May 21st on PC and Xbox Series XS. I said Saga. What am I saying? Senua's Sacrifice. Excuse me. Oh my gosh, what a butcher moment. Actually, that was a blonde moment. Did you realize, HenricK, that, you know, when you're a blonde like me, you actually get one? I mean, you heard that age-old joke, right? Like how the blonde fell from the tree.
I have not heard that. No.
It was raking the leaves, okay? Leave us alone, okay? Leave us alone. Sometimes we have a blonde moment. But moving on. In V Rising, a vampire survival action RPG, awakened from centuries of slumber weakened and thirsty for blood, navigate a vast open world of dark fantasy, humans, horrors, and deadly sunlight, rising in power to conquer the world of the living, whether hunting alone, gathering a clan, or playing solo, co-op, or in a persistent online multiplayer experience. Let's go ahead and take a look.
Hey, this game's been in early access for a bit, and it's now finally releasing. So maybe if Diablo 4 has been a little dull for you recently, as it has been for a lot of people, I'm sure, try this one out. It might be something that piques your interest and might hook you in.
Yeah, or, you're a fan of Path of Exile, which just recently came out. And by the way, we recently reviewed that game in our Pause or Repeat segment. This is a good, refreshing game if you're into that kind of style of gameplay. And just make sure you bring some garlic with you, because,
Path of Exile? You mean Last Epoch?
Well, that too. Well, yeah, that's right. Yeah, Last Epoch. What am I saying? But, that's why you got your homeboy, HenricK the Wreck, to always back your homeboy, Chris Collins.
Exactly.
But V Rising releases May 8th on PC. Homeworld 3, the award-winning sci-fi RTS, makes a triumphant return, offering players breathtaking fleet combat in a fully 3D space, all while immersing them in its epic galactic scale story. Let's go ahead and take a look.
Now, here's a throwback to an old series. I don't think that there's been a sequel since 2003, something like that.
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
So the fans are eating well for this series right now.
Yeah, a lot of developers would actually cave in and start all over. We've seen that with Mortal Kombat as of last year, kind of just going, hey, we're going to do this whole MCU experience. No, Homeworld is going to stick it to a trilogy, and if you're into this whole RTS experience, this game should definitely be on your radar. So Homeworld 3 releases May 13th on PC, so you do got games to look forward to. But man, HenricK, this topic is, I can't believe we're even talking about this, but it has been one of the more major discussions this week in gaming news. Break it down.
A band of Stellar Blade diehards has pointed fingers at developer ShiftUp and publisher Sony, crying foul play and accusing them of, quote, censoring the game.
Censoring? What?
Well, apparently, some of Eve's, the main character's, outfits got a makeover in the day one patch, leading fans to argue that these changes are more than just fashion tweaks. They're censorship in disguise.
Oh, really? Let's give it a second. You guys notice the difference? What happened? Okay, this is one of the outfits. Oh, shoot. There's a little bit of mesh
wants you
over
to
her.
Look at these two and see what the difference is.
Oh, man, they put a little bit of mesh over her cleavage. Censorship. I am outraged. Wait. Let's check out the other outfit that's really questionable right now.
Wait. A little bit more cloth.
You're kidding me, right? I can't see that extra flab of skin. Are you serious right now? So, clearly, there has been some people upset because the original designs are only visible if you have a physical release of Stellar Blade and install it without the day one patch. So they were not present in the pre-release copies that reviewers and content creators received ahead of the game's launch, making the reason behind the changes unclear. Gamers quickly questioned Shift Up's actions with the following. So let's go ahead and dive into the comments. First one here says, their argument doesn't hold any weight or truth. I'm a 50-year-old gamer. I'm married in a good paying job for over 20 years and have 2 kids. I'm not happy with the Stellar Blade censorship. It's the principle, not what's being censored. So why is a 50-year-old, is this like, dude, babe, like, are you a baby boomer? Like, I don't know. Are you a Gen Xer? Like, smoking a stogie up against the wall? Like, what are we doing? Like, is this really, like, the hill to die on? The next comment that we got here is, even the moms that were against Mortal Kombat back in the 90s weren't this unhinged.
Yeah, then again, though, back in the 90s, internet was a little bit harder to get onto.
Yeah, that's true. But then again, you know, that was considered way too sexy and too gory, matter of fact, to be able to be sending your child into the arcade room, spending your hard-earned quarters, nickels, playing with these characters. If there was a gay kissing that got censored and removed, you'd see these same people foaming at the mouth from how much they think it matters. Yeah, you don't really see too many animosity when it comes to this kind of stuff. When you see China, especially with like movie releases, we hear about it all the time. You know, Saudi Arabia, for example. So like
for the release in other countries,
this is like so minuscule, in my opinion, that I really can't. I'm having a hard time getting down with this. Remember, OnlyFans equals empowering attractive women in games. The male gaze equals incel misogyny. Okay, that's quite the take. Don't you love it when your adults only game gets censored for being too suggestive? Who the hell are they even trying to protect? Okay, now, you know, I get it, because, you know, there was a point where, you know, you maybe heard about this, HenricK. You hear about the Dead Space creator? You know, he kind of came out and was a little upset how Stellar Blade got this, like, quote-unquote goriness to be showing up in the game. And he's like, well, the Japan board was very, you know, problematic with our game, and we had to kind of dial it back. And so, you know, some people go, why are we even dialing something back? And why are we even promoting a game that was supposed to have an uncensored edition meant for mature gamers? But a little bit of skin flab is something to tweak now. But, you know, the director did say this was the final look that they've always envisioned in the first place. But let's go to the last comment. The problem isn't that the content is being changed to appeal to someone that isn't you. The problem is that the content is being changed to appeal to people that were never interested in the content to begin with. It's about power and control. Is it really about power and control, HenricK, if, you know, the directors already kind of came out and said, you know, this was the original vision that we had for Eve in the beginning?
Well, I think that's where the conspiracy theories come up for a lot of people, because it's like, is that his words, or is that the words of whoever is his boss telling him, you got to say this? So
you do think there might be a little bit of pressure behind that? Because I know these Stellar Blade fans, you know, they kind of remind me of like the Sherlock Holmes of gaming, you know, uncovering, you know, scandalous conspiracies about Eve's wardrobe faster than she can change outfits in a day one patch. I mean, people were on top of this, like, oh my gosh, I'm freaking out. And like just before, you know, the release, Shift Up promised that Stellar Blade would be, you know, in all regions uncensored. And so that's why this whole, like, you know, tentacles of like trying to connect the dots of like, how did this all go down? Some people feel, you know, like the Dead Space creator kind of came out, you know, Japan's rating board's pretty strict. And we all know that Sony their hub's pretty much located in Japan. And maybe there was a little bit of pressure that showed up, you know, in the weeks coming to the release of Stellar Blade. Is that kind of, are you vibing with that kind of the side of the story that we're still unclear about?
I'm going to be real with everyone for a second here. We're never going to know, most likely, what actually happened, whether it was the design choice or if it was censorship. At the end of the day, though, is it really that big of a deal? I don't think so.
Right.
I'd wager to say that the game is still a fun game regardless of one or two outfits getting a little bit censored or gore being toned down a little bit. Sure, that sucks if it is censorship because it maybe shouldn't happen in the first place. If you're especially advertising it to be one certain way and you're giving out copies to reviewers of that version that's being then broadcast to a bunch of people, and then when they get the game, it's a little bit different. It's not exactly what they wanted.
But this is like something
Sure.
like really though, like you were
yeah,
even
it's-
like
it's
you're
not a
the
huge
fan
issue.
before the game came out, even got lucky to even see those gaming clips in the beginning, right? I mean, that's like how like even the tentacles even start to even branch out even further because, you know, some have already accused the developers of already going back. And, you know, they patched out what was called a racist graffiti in the game. There was literally on the walls hard R. And in Western culture, we don't have to dive any deeper. Your thought goes immediately towards that direction. I'm not the only one. And so they clearly were like, okay, we understand. And they immediately removed that from the game. Was that from pressure from the publishers to tell the developers to do that? We will never know, as HenricK suggested, even with the costume outfit change. But even the director has responded to the claims that the day one update censors the game, as quoted. I want to clarify that this is our final product, but that hasn't stopped people from creating a petition, which we do have a photo of it. It's quite remarkable. A petition to have the unused outfits restored in a future update is circulating too, sitting at around 65,000 signatures. And as the tweet started by this gentleman, Grums, who created this change.org petition, trolls are starting to leave video comments on the petition to try to sabotage it and mock it, leaving them up for now to turn them into content for your amusement. Okay, so I didn't know that you could even drop video replies on change.org, so I wanted to have some fun. I dove into that. And so you decide, gamers, are the video replies submitted to the Stellar Blade censorship campaign genuine or merely mocking, as Grums suggests? So let's go ahead and watch these video replies.
Behind me is my collection of PlayStation, which I've amassed for years.
Sony, this means war. Woke mob, this means war.
They think that Asian grown women look like children, and it's ridiculous. It's not their fault the way they look.
Woke propaganda BS.
We can and will cancel PSN.
Abby from The Last of Us, full frontal nudity.
We can and will buy the games used in secondhand.
Full jiggle physics.
The Last of Us Part 2 with the sex scene.
Full hardcore sex scenes.
Last of Us 2 Abby.
Not an ounce of it censored.
Full frontal nude scenes.
Because it appeals to the male gaze. They really need to stop using that.
Why is Celebrate censored? It's pretty stupid, man.
This is not acceptable.
This is wrong.
Oh boy.
Can we just get those nipples and vagina bone back? Thank you.
You need to change the game back and leave it alone.
Yeah, we get back those nipples and vagina bones back.
You know what?
Yeah,
when he said that, I was like, okay, that is probably satire. But the unfortunate thing is that you don't really know whether some of these videos are satire or not.
I know.
I know that one in
part.
particular is probably satire because the vagina bones thing is a joke from a previous thing in a different game, Censorship.
But is this like really to the extent of censorship? I don't really think so until we get more updates, whether the developers actually did get pressured into, you know, changing the outfit, you know, day one patch of the release. Who freaking knows? And again, I'm gonna stand by it. Who freaking cares? This is extremely not something that I would be fighting to the ends of Earth, all the way to Middle Earth, in fact.
Yeah, enjoy the game if you enjoy it, and don't let other people say, oh, you can't enjoy the game because I'm mad. You can't enjoy the game.
Yeah,
no, enjoy the game, man. Just have fun.
Have fun, because the next topic that we're going to discuss is something that was amazing to see by the gaming community.
Break it down, Chris.
We need to break it down first because this was a triumphant victory. The multiplayer tactical shooter, Escape from Tarkov, stirred up its community by introducing player versus everyone. But there was a catch. You had to fork over $250 for the Unheard edition. To add salt to the wound, this was made even worse after those who'd previously bought the Edge of Darkness edition that charged $100 for what was described as a season pass, which would provide all future DLCs at no extra cost. Clearly, this didn't sit well with gamers and longtime fans of the game, so comments started to generate all over the web, and the first comment that we got here is, if you haven't looked into what's going on with Escape from Tarkov, you 100% should. This is some of the scummiest, greediest shit I have ever seen a game developer pull. It's actually mind-blowing.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to pay $250, Chris? What's wrong with you?
I know. I have a heart attack paying $70 alone. The fact that, like, if you were one of those people that paid $250, oh my gosh, you might need to take a course on financial literacy. Why would you give them $250? How is Escape from Tarkov able to justify charging $250 or $180 for a game when the norm for even AAA titles is $60 or $70? Exactly. If you allow developers to do this, I guess you could throw caution into the wind, but that's insane.
Yeah, it couldn't be me.
Right. Just because you call it a unique feature doesn't mean it's not DLC. Laughing out loud. Yes, this is a perfect example of what George Carlin has been saying for years. We just continue to make up new terminology when we're all speaking the same thing. Stop it, video game developers. Stop it right now. I know I'll definitely be told I got taken for a ride, but being taken for a ride means I got multiple thousands of hours of rewarding gameplay experience for $150. I'll be Ruby, I guess. What? I don't know what that means. I paid $90 for Diablo 4 and only played it for 3 hours. Think you pulled out well here.
And I'll be a Rube.
Rube. Okay, gotcha. I was like, but okay, cool. I mean, if that's how you feel, no one's going to take away that opinion from you. I would just argue that that's insane. I just have a hard time doing that. But anyways, sorry guys, there really isn't any justification on this package. It's far too expensive and adds questionable features to the game. It's unheard of to charge such a high price for features in an early access game that is expected of a base game.
I see what you did there, commenter.
Yes. And last, on the one hand, I appreciate games have to fund development, but walking back a $180 all-inclusive promise is incredibly scummy. A total slap in the face to the people who have supported you. I think the only reasonable response is a class action lawsuits and boycott. Well, clearly there was some pretty funny videos that were circulating where like people would blow up their Discord server and just started like spamming the same message. And I guess they have like different kind of server, chats that you could jump into. And like even the CEO was even trying to have his voice heard. And like everybody's like, nope, I'm just going to keep spamming it so like nobody can hear your response. But HenricK, why would anyone drop $250 on the Unheard edition when there are plenty of other online multiplayer shooters that won't cost you a dime aside from your dignity when you get outplayed by a 12-year-old?
Well, I mean, when you get really invested in a game, you're willing to put down a lot of money sometimes is what I'll say. And I mean, can't really be me personally, but I could see why people would be willing then to fork out the $180 for the original edition or the $250 even for this.
I guess that's a fair point because
one.
I do clown my friends like, they play Fortnite or Call of Duty and they're buying the cosmetics. Like I don't understand that. Like, but this one is clearly not a cosmetic issue. This is a game mode, which you feel would have been already given to you already because you bought the base game and then you
was saying that it was going to be included in that 180 bundle.
Right, with the Edge of Darkness
originally
edition.
Saying everything is going to come.
Yeah, exactly. And
moving
now
forward even.
Exactly. And now Battlestate Games will now offer all Escape from Tarkov Edge of Darkness edition owners the new player versus everyone game mode with persistent progression for free at launch with no 6-month window. Originally, they were only going to give it to them for 6 months, and even they were like, "Are you kidding me? 6 months? Like, that is ludicrous."
So you can get addicted to it and then want to buy the $250 package.
But did you hear that outlandish statement where they were even trying to say, like, "Oh, we do this because we don't want, the game to get bogged up with lag, and, and it would refrain us from having to add more, AI."
If they cared that much, they wouldn't have never had a cheater issue like last year sometime, I want to say, pretty much almost to the year. They had a huge cheater issue, probably still do, honestly. Yeah. And if they really cared, like they're saying they are with that statement, they wouldn't have had that in the first place.
Right.
Issue.
Because I know they also announced that the ping limit for playing player versus everyone would be removed, given that any advantage ping would give, somebody like, only playing against an AI enemy. That's what the argument was. So when they removed that, now it's kind of been open for all gamers, no matter what kind of, internet delay and et cetera that they deal with. But this kind of really brought up this whole debate all over again. We've kind of explored this, last year when it came with loot boxes, but then it's the debate about whether it's a license versus a product, service versus a good. And if we're talking about box product games, there's a good argument that the physical box product is a good, but we don't know definitely if the software on it, or more generally the software which it's digitally distributed, is a good or a service. So that's always been kind of the debate. And that's where, Battle State Games felt like they had a little bit of a leverage going, this is in fact not a good. This is more in line of a service. And whether Congress needs to get involved has always been kind of raised up in the air. But then again, it's like, do we really want people doing that? I mean, well, let's kind of wait until they explore this whole TikTok ban before they start evaluating what's, a license good or not. But have you ever thought about that any deeper, HenricK? I mean, do you feel as though like services, which they're kind of calling like World of Warcraft or platforms like Steam or Xbox Live, should they be considered a service, or is it in the end a product for gamers?
Well, I think that a lot of people would not really be happy to know it just being a license to use something and it could then be revoked at any moment. Yeah. Because then it doesn't feel like you're actually owning the games. That is something that people do really care about. Whether it's physical or not, people care about the concept of ownership when it comes to these games, because we've seen already so many things get pulled from the stores because the stores shut down and then they're not available anywhere else. So if you own something, then you should have access to it and then be able to use it even if the service goes down eventually.
And that's why people argue it's like, I paid for this edition, which is a service, and you're only adding in a new game mode. And I guess this would be a cautionary tale that I would really want to speak loud to all the gamers that are tuning into this topic. Just know, when you pay in advance for these pre-orders and etc., it's not a good. I'm going to still argue to this day it's a service. So be very wary when you support developers that want to sell you a product for $250, okay?
Yeah.
Really?
I mean, also be wary, and this goes for pretty much anything out there. Be wary of buying something that has the promise of something coming, because it's not something that's out yet. So you can't know for sure if it ever will come.
Yeah, and it could be taken down immediately. I mean, we've already seen like Little Big Planet 3 kind of suffer from this. I know it's a 10-year-old game, but that's kind of been the argument in place. You know, I thought I already invested in a lot of this. I thought this was my good. It's like, no, once the online experience is gone and you have the offline mode, what you have is what you have, you know. And then also the other car game, why I'm having a brain fart right now, but they also came into
The Crew.
The Crew, that's right. Yeah. Not The Crew 2, but The Crew fell into that the original one fell into that same circumstance, and that's why people are arguing in advance for how can we preserve video games, even on a historian level, or why how do we combat the whole emulation of games? This is something that's not going to be figured out anytime soon, but that's why I'm just saying, like, this is a very cautionary tale to be very smart with your money and don't support products like this, because if you do, we're not going to have games for $40 like Helldivers 2, because, the shareholders are going to see that you're willing to invest $250 into a silly game mode like this. And let's not support this.
$250? Well, let's charge him $100 then. Because
that's
then
what I'm
it will
saying.
look less.
No, let's not give him any more ideas. You guys get the point. So awesome for the gaming community to put so much pressure on Battle State Games, and hopefully you guys learn from this, because you guys do a lot of stupid shit in the past. Like, final note, still not adding women to your game, because you can look it up for yourself. Anyways, HenricK, it sounds like we got another Reddit discussion.
Yep. Reddit users are back at it again, pondering the age-old question. What video game do the critics adore, but the fans despise?
That's right.
It's like the gaming equivalent of pineapple on pizza. Critics love it, but fans think it's a crime against humanity.
Pineapple on pizza! Let's get it, baby. All right. So the first comment that we got here is, Pathologic is practically designed to be unfun to play. However, it does have a very deep story and meta narratives that make it incredibly interesting. So critics love it and then will tell you not to play it. I can't really speak on this. I didn't play this game. What I can tell from the artwork, it looks really cool. Makes me really want to jump into this.
That thing that the commenter really is expressing is something that does happen, though, where a game might not really be fun, but it has deep meanings and philosophical teachings, so it has to get a good score, right?
Well, some people have been kind of talking about Fallout New Vegas, right, and how is that still resonating with gamers today, or even new gamers that have never jumped into that game, matter of fact, in the year 2024. And the gameplay mechanics don't really bother them because the storytelling is there. And maybe Pathologic has that, but maybe the expectations for the gameplay wasn't quite there. I don't know. I'm just speculating, but, awesome. I can clearly see that, 3,000 people agreed with that assessment. The next comment that we got here is, Deathloop would be my guess. I don't think fans hated it so much, but reviewers were giving it a 9 and 10s across the board, and I don't think I've seen anyone agree with them. That's so true. I remember when this game first came out, I really wanted it. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't wait, to get it on, on the PS5. This is something that, finally got a kind of newer style of gunplay. You're kind of looking at me like you knew it was BS in the beginning.
I mean, this one, the concept is kind of cool, but after a couple of my friends saying, hey, this game's not really that fun, it's kind of mid, honestly, this gave me the inclination, okay, hopefully Arcane Studios doesn't go in a downward trend. And then look what happened last year.
Yeah.
They came out with Redfall and it was absolutely terrible. So they got to probably rework their game design as a whole, because this was kind of like, I think the problem here was also game design with this one.
Yeah, it's not like the bubble gum staying intact to your shoe. It's not there, fam. It's not sticking with the gamers. Well, let's go ahead and do the next one. Battlefield 2042 got 7, 8, and 9 across the board at launch. That shit shouldn't have scored any higher than a 3 or 4 at launch. Now, 2.5 years later, it's maybe at 7.
That one's interesting because I think that's mostly due to the multiplayer issues, right?
Well, that whole game was only multiplayer. There was no campaign with it. I could have swore it had an even lower grade. I could be mistaken. I don't know if that's actually entirely accurate, this comment. I could be totally wrong. Somebody that's watching us live, do your research. Where's our research department? We don't have one. But hey, come on, fam. Look out for us. But I get it. I mean, I've spoken in the past how I feel like Battlefield 2042 is a really, really fun experience to this day. It's gotten a whole lot better. I do hate when a game does launch on the day of the release and it's not complete. This was one of those terrible experiences where it's like, what the hell are we doing? And I feel like we talked about this like last week or 2 weeks ago. Compared to some of the other Battlefield games, like where's like the mechanics where like buildings are getting dropped, you know?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
There's
I was
none
missing
of that. Yeah, you
I think that 3 and 4 had that, right? And it was like a huge spectacle whenever you're playing that map with the big skyscraper, and then it would just crash down.
Exactly. Like you're making me want to play it right now. Compared to Battlefield 2042, where it's like, oh, cool, tornadoes, and as you can see in the image, you're like, to me, that's not really anything new. Earthquake, oh no, hide for cover. You know, it's like, it just wasn't enough, and they've had plenty of opportunities to add building destruction. Let's go into the next one. Star Fox Adventures and Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts edit. Laughing out loud. Lots of people have fond memories of it now, but to sum up the fan reaction back then, watch JonTron's Starefax temperatures. People were scandalized and hated on stuff just for being different, even if things were perfectly functional. You know?
Yeah, I think this is a situation where it's just like people don't like change.
Yeah, and I think just to kind of give people an idea, you know, Star Fox Adventures came out on the GameCube. Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts came out, I believe, on the Xbox 360 as well. So that was kind of like branching away from Nintendo. And I just look at Kazoo, you know, like the bird, like I think that kind of messed with people too. It's like it already had a pretty cool look to it. Like the face looks kind of strange. But then again,
it has that uncanniness to it.
Exactly. It was a little bit strange. I thought Star Fox Adventure was pretty cool, but yeah, I mean, it wasn't really. Yeah, you know, when you think about these top 10 or even, in fact, top 20 games on the GameCube, I think I got to agree with people. Like, Star Fox Adventures doesn't really ever come up in anybody's discussion. But let's go ahead and go into the next one, which I have here. There we are.
Oh,
Starfield. IGN gave it a 7. You know what's so funny? When I first saw this, my initial reaction was StarCraft when I read it all fast. And I was like, how can anybody hate StarCraft? It's not StarCraft. It's, in fact, Starfield. But hey, I mean, we did get new updates today where people were complaining about how, you know, we only got it locked at 30 frames per second because, you know, Todd Howard was arguing about the fidelity of the game. Now he's backtracking. Now they're adding 40 frames to 60 frames per second coming soon. And there are reports about land vehicles showing up in Starfield. So, HenricK, will this be enough to bump up the rating of Starfield as we've clearly have seen with Battlefield 2042?
Yeah, it's possible. The great thing about it is that it can keep getting updates to make it better. So I'm all for that. You know, if it's going to make it better, make a climb to be better over time, go for it, Bethesda. Because when this game came out, there's a reason we didn't do a pause or repeat on it. And it's because there was other games that came out around the same time that were more fun.
You had to go there. But yeah, that's true. That's very, very true. We hopefully it all works out for you guys in the end, because I'm as much as we're talking a little bit of crap, I'm massive fans of that studio. We just expect more. And like when they start doing these whole land vehicle like adaptations, it just makes you feel like, are you guys like purposely holding things back on purpose? Like, why aren't you not giving us the complete game? And the last game was Dark Souls 2, and the comment says Dark Souls 2 has the highest Metacritic score of the DS trilogy and is even rated higher than Sekiro, which won Game of the Year despite being the third highest rated FromSoft Souls game under Bloodborne and Elden Ring. FromSoft fans generally considered it the worst one and black sheep in the series. I don't think it's a bad game, or else I won't have platinumed it, but I do agree that it is the weakest one. You know, I remember when I loaded this game up back in the day, I didn't like it. I wasn't into this style of game. I was one of those guys, but I jumped right into 2. Maybe I made the mistake and didn't jump right into the very OG experience. But HenricK,
yeah, probably that's part of it.
Is that part of it? I'm
Yeah.
feeling a little bit of an attest towards this. I mean, is this something that did you like this experience in this game?
Well, it definitely is, like the comment said, the black sheep of the Souls-like games, but it's still a Souls-like game. You have to go into it expecting that there's going to be a lot of BS thrown at you, and you just have to take it because you have to learn every time you die.
Yes, and I think that's why I had no patience for the game in the long run. But HenricK, like, what's the video game that critics have hailed as a masterpiece while fans have treated it like it's the last slice of pizza at a party? Everyone wants it, but no one's happy with what they get.
Well, in recent memory, one of the biggest examples I could say is Diablo 4. Because it got a lot of great reviews. I mean, we got a good experience out of it when we did a pause or repeat. But then you get to the end game content, which is supposed to be the bulk of the game,
right?
And it's just it's
well,
a little
they're
lacking
introducing their
even
first
now.
expansion pretty soon, and and I was very vocal about the game, feeling as though the ending wasn't there, and I feel like they purposely did that so you can further purchase it, and that stuff just drives me insane. But the first thing that comes on the top of my head that I know a lot of critics were raving about, and I'm a part of the critics that were loving the game, was Last of Us Part 2. I like it. I know a lot of people were very and judgmental about the storyline and where it went and some of the social matters it explored.
People
still being
about
debated.
that.
I mean, shoot, we were just talking about Stellar Blade censorship, and what's the first thing that shows up in the video replies? Hey, no one told me a heads up that I was going to see a sex scene between Abby. Like, dude, come on, man. What, did you need like a little like a watermark to show up on Netflix when you're watching a rom-com with your potential date? The sex scene's showing up. I'm not ready. I feel uncomfortable. I mean, it's just ludicrous. And so, yes, there's always going to be a time where critics might hoot and rave over something. You see it all the time with Rotten Tomato, for example, when it comes to movies and cinemas and TV shows and stand-up comedies. The first one I could think about was the drama around Dave Chappelle, where, Rotten Tomato critics completely tore it to pieces, and then when his diehard fans showed up, they're like, no, it's really, really good. So it can always be vice versa. So do you really always want to take the critics in mind? I mean, even when we even voice our own opinions, just take it for a little grain of salt. Like, you need to experience it for yourself, because we all love different kind of styles of gameplay, and some games that like HenricK the Wreck might hoot and rave for, I'm like, yeah, dog, cool, that's for you, my man. But like,
and
myself,
vice versa. Some of the games Chris is like, oh yeah, this is great. I'm like, dude, no.
I know, and then you're breaking my heart, and then it's like, really, dude? I'm like, so like, I mean, come on,
like,
man.
I really is one of those things with gaming. You need to develop your own opinions, and I mean, it's great to have opinions of other people to kind of like base kind of like an expectation off of, maybe. But you really, like you said, do have to go experience a lot of these games to really put out your opinion yourself and understand whether you like the game or not. For yourself.
And just watching your favorite streamer on Twitch or Kick playing the game, that doesn't mean you know the game. Like, you need to immerse yourself for your own self. But man, we had such a great time on Rage Quit Video Game Talk Show, and we can't thank you, the gamers, for tuning in live every Wednesday at 6 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, because if it wasn't for you guys, this show wouldn't be possible. And we just want to remind you guys, since you are at the end of the show, if you're not following me on social media, go ahead and like, share, subscribe to my YouTube channel so you never miss a live show.
And if you go to that QR code, you can go like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And on there, I post memes, I post videos about games that are in development or just out and are really fun. You should check out. So check it out.
That's right, baby. And we will see you guys next week. Peace.
See ya.